Students, I welcome all of you once again. So you know that in the last session we had started with lesson number 13, the methods of preserving the food. So let's revise once again whatever we have learnt in the last lecture. So students, if you remember, in the last session we had conducted one experiment. Which experiment we have conducted? So if you remember, we divided a chapati into 3 pieces. Do you remember? We kept one piece of chapati in the closed box without doing anything. Then what we did? We kept second piece of the chapati in the box, but before that we roasted that piece of chapati in the hot pan. We made it crisp, and then that crisp piece of chapati we kept in the box, and the third piece of the chapati we kept in the box, and that box we kept as it is in the fridge. So you know what is the observation after 3-4 days? Any guesses? Are you able to recall? We divided chapati into 3 pieces. One piece we roasted and then we made it crisp. One piece we kept as it is in the box. The third piece we kept in the fridge. So after 3-4 days we observed each piece of the chapati. So what was the conclusion? We had observed that the piece which was roasted on hot pan and that piece of the chapati which was kept in the refrigerator, it remained as it is. There was no change on the piece of the chapati. But the piece of the chapati which we kept in the closed box, after 3-4 days we saw that a white, black and greenish fiber like cotton wool growing on that piece of the chapati. That cotton like growth which was seen on the piece of chapati, it was called as what? Fungus. And even after a few days, if we have seen that, even that piece of chapati started smelling. So the fungus growth was seen on the chapati which was placed in the closed box. Now why the fungus grew on the chapati? The reason we had seen. So what was the reason why fungus grew on the piece of the chapati? So we knew that the spores of the fungus, they are present in the air as well as in the water. If air, water and warmth are available, then microorganisms are rapidly grown in any kind of the foodstuff. The chapati in the box created a favorable condition for the growth of the fungus, and that's the reason the fungus could easily grow on the piece of the chapati, and as a result that food got spoiled, and that spoiled food we are unable to consume. Now students, one more thing we had learnt in the last lecture. Suppose by mistakenly if we consume this spoiled food, then what will happen? If we consume spoiled food, then we all know that the person will suffer from stomachache, diarrhea, vomiting, and even sometimes this spoiled food can even threaten to the life also, and even sometimes it can cause death of an individual also. So that's why we have to avoid consuming spoiled food. Okay. So now, what are the ways by which we can preserve the spoilage of the food material? So that we are going to learn today. So now let's learn today what are the different methods of the food preservation. So today we are going to learn basically 4 methods of the food preservation. So what are the 4 methods of the food preservation which we are going to learn today? Drying, cooling, boiling and placing in the airtight can. These are the 4 methods of the food preservation. So let's learn about them one by one. So what is exactly drying? In drying condition, what we exactly do? You all know that there are many variety of the food stuff which can be preserved only with the help of the drying method. So when we dry the food material, exactly what happens students? When we dry any kind of the food stuff, the water content is lost. So when we keep any kind of the food stuff for drying purpose, because of the sunlight and because of the high temperature, whatever moisture or whatever water content it is present inside the food stuff, it will get evaporated in the form of water vapor and our food will get dry. And if the food is present in the dry condition, then it will survive for many years and then it will be safe for consumption also. So you know that what kind of food stuff we usually dry? You know that papad, then kurdai, then sandge, then wheat and then dal. These are the different kind of the food stuff which you must have seen at home also. These different variety of the food stuff, they are usually dried well and then only it is preserved at home. Suppose if we don't dry papad very well, if we don't dry wheat, okay, then what will happen? Because of the moisture, the papad and the wheat, there also the fungus will grow. And once the fungus grow on papad and the wheat etc., then it will become unsafe for consumption purpose. And that's why to preserve the food from getting spoiled, we need to dry them very well. So what we have learnt in the drying process, students? We learned that when we dry food stuff, the water content is lost. This method is used to preserve foodstuffs like papad, kurdai, sandge, wheat, dal, etc. Understood now the drying method very well? Now the next method which we are going to learn, that is cooling. So what exactly we do in the cooling process? You know that at home also any kind of the extra food is prepared at home or any extra meal is prepared. Then what we do? The extra meal which is prepared, we usually keep in the fridge so that it won't spoil. Now you must be thinking, why food which is kept in the fridge, it remains safe for longer time? There must be some kind of the scientific reason. Most of the time the vegetable, the fruits which we buy from the market, that also we keep in the fridge. So when we keep vegetable and the fruits in the fridge, it remains fresh for longer time. So what exactly happens? You know that the temperature of the fridge is very low, like 10 degrees Celsius or 5 degrees Celsius. So at the low temperature, microorganisms do not grow at all. I repeat once again, at low temperature of the fridge, microorganisms do not grow on the food. Because for the growth of the microorganism, the warmth condition is required. So in the fridge, warmth condition is not available and that's why the microorganism can't grow and our food will be protected and it will be preserved. Always remember, when microorganisms are able to grow on the food, then only food spoilage will occur. Got it? So when we keep any kind of the food material in the fridge or at the cooling temperature, so at cooling temperature, microorganisms do not get warmth condition which is needed for the growth. And that's why the food which is kept in the fridge, it will be protected and it will be preserved for many days. Understood now? So in order to preserve the food, the cooling method is also important. Along with the cooling method, the boiling is also important. You must have seen that at our home we boil milk also. Okay, so when we boil the milk, whatever microorganisms are present inside the milk, they will be destroyed. They will be killed immediately. Even at home also, student, you know that dal which we cook, okay, dal rice. So even dal, if we want to consume, so before consuming the dal also, we boil it. So when we boil the dal, that time also, during boiling, whatever microorganisms are present in the dal, they will be killed immediately and it will remain fresh for consumption. So when foodstuffs are boiled, the microorganisms in them get destroyed and as a result, our food, it will remain fresh as it is for consumption. Understood now? So what we have learned till now? We learned drying, we learned cooling and we learned boiling. So these are the three methods which are usually used at our daily life for the protection and for the preservation of the food material. And the most importantly, student, at the same time, for preserving the food material, the placing of the food in the airtight container, it is also most important. You must have seen that at our home, many of the food material, we put it in the container and we close it tightly. Why we close it very tightly? Because we are not allowing the air or moisture to enter inside that container. By mistakenly, if air or moisture enter inside the container, then our food will get spoiled immediately. Even mostly we buy the ready-made pickles from the market. Mostly we buy the sauce, then jams from the market. Am I right? So even you must have noticed most of the time, whatever food material ready-made we buy from the market, all the food material, they are neatly packed, they are neatly closed. Okay, and remember student, if any kind of the bottles of the jam, sauce, or ice cream also, whenever you buy any kind of the food stuff, make sure that they are tightly closed. If they are tightly closed, then only buy the food stuff. If they are loose or the seal is already open, then do not buy it. If the seal is open or if the seal is loose, then there are the chances that the microorganism might go inside the food and they might have spoiled the food material. So always remember, whenever you buy any kind of the airtight container from the market, make sure it is tightly packed, then only buy it. Okay, so when foodstuffs are preserved in the airtight container, what exactly happens? The microorganisms are first destroyed. Before packing inside the container, the microorganisms which are present inside the food, they are first of all destroyed completely. Okay, and then it is ensured that water or air will not enter the food stuff. Before packing the food, what we have done? We have destroyed the microorganism completely, and after packaging also we have made sure that water and air will not enter the food stuff. Understood now? And if water and air is not enter the food stuff, it means that it is usually used for the food preservation method, and the microorganism in them should be destroyed completely. So when the microorganism in the canned food stuff, it is destroyed completely, then we can use them for the longer time. Also, this container placed in the condition in which microorganism will not grow. We have to keep this container in the dry condition so that microorganism won't grow at all. If we keep this condition in the moist condition, so there are the chances that microorganism will grow in this container, and then as a result the food will be spoiled and we won't be able to consume that. Understood now here? So you must have seen that student, we have learned the methods of the food preservation. Okay, so now what we are exactly going to learn? We are going to learn about the preservative. So what are the basically preservative? So you know that there are different kind of the preservative which are used at the daily basis at our home also. You must have seen that our parents made pickles at home. We make jam at also home. Okay, so there are many kind of the food material which we cook at our home. So there are different kind of the chemicals or there are different kind of the substances which are added inside the food in order to preserve them for longer time. So whatever substances which we add to the food in order to preserve them, those substances we call it as what? Preservatives. What we call them as? Preservatives. Preservative are the substances which we add to the food material for the protection purpose. Understood now? So you know that certain substances are added to the jams and the pickles to preserve them for longer time. They are called as what? Preservatives. Repeat the definition after me, students. What is the definition of the preservative? Certain substances are added to the foodstuff to preserve them for longer time are called as preservatives. Understood? What are preservative? Repeat once again. And I hope so students, you all are noting down these points in your notebook also, because these are very important from your exam point of view also. So repeat the definition once again. Certain substances are added to the foodstuff to preserve them for longer time are called as preservative. Now you must be thinking, what are the different substances which we usually add in the foodstuff? What are the different preservative which we are usually using? So there are many variety of the preservative which we are using regularly in our foodstuff. So what are they? First is the sugar. You know that when we make muramba or when we make jam, the jam and muramba, they are very sweet. Okay, so excess amount of the sugar when we use in the any kind of the food stuff, the microorganism won't be able to grow. So when there is no microorganism, there is no spoilage. So even sugar acts as the food preservative. Not little bit amount of the sugar, the maximum amount of the sugar. So when we put more amount of the sugar in the jams and in the muramba, okay, it acts as what? Preservative. Even salt, you know that mostly we put a lot of salt in making pickles. In pickles also we put a lot of salt. Okay, so the salt also helps in the food preservation method. Even most of the time you must have seen that for preserving the fish also. Okay, so salt is applied on outer surface of the fish and they are dried under the sun. Okay, so dried fish, okay, for drying fish the salt is applied so that the food is preserved for the longer time. So we can say that even the salt is a preservative. And even you can see that over here, asafoetida means what? Hing. Okay, hing also is used as a food preservative. And even mustard, mustard is also one of the example of the preservative. Even oil, even in the pickle also we put a lot of oil. And even sometime the vinegar, okay, vinegar is also added as a food preservative in most of the food material. So students, now you understood what are the meaning of the food preservative. Any kind of the substance we put inside the food to preserve them for longer time, they are called as what? Preservative. So what are the example of the preservative? Sugar, salt, hing, mustard, oil and vinegar. They are the different example of the preservative which are commonly used by us in our day-to-day life. Understood now? Okay. And one more thing student, you know that while making the food material we use a lot of spices. Am I right? Much variety in the taste of our food is due to the spices only. Without spices our food will become very boring. We won't be able to eat the food material. Okay, you know that you can see here in this picture there are different variety of the spices which are available at our home also. So every spice has a different flavor and taste. They have strong taste and flavors and therefore they are used in the smaller quantities. We can't spices in the large quantities, no. We put it in the little bit amount only, so that little bit amount will give taste and flavor to our food material. And even most of the time you must have seen that all these spices can be dried and then only it is stored for longer time. There are no spices which are waiting. Okay, so we have to dry them and we have to store them in order to protect them for longer time. So you all know that these all spices in the dry condition they can be mixed and they can be powdered to make the different type of the masalas. At home also you must have seen that our parents bring all these spices during summer season. Am I right? And when they mix it, okay, even you must have seen that red chilies, along with red chilies all these spices are mixed and they are powdered. So chilies and these spices, when we make it into the powder form, then it results into the masalas, and these masalas we usually used in making, daily food, daily meal preparing, like in the dal, then after that biryani, then sabzi, etc. In different kind of the meal we use the different type of this masalas. So different spices are obtained from the specific parts of the plant. There are different variety of the plant who can give us different spices. So because of the spices only, our food has got different flavor as well as the taste. Understood, students? So whatever we have learnt in this topic, so here we completed the lesson number 13, the methods of preserving the food material. So let's revise once again whatever we have learned so far in this topic. So we have learned that in this topic, if pickles, jams, papad, etc. are made in the right season, they can be enjoyed for the whole year. And what else we have learned in this topic? We have learned that if air, water and warmth are available, the microorganisms grow rapidly in the foodstuff, and some microorganisms cause the foodstuff to get spoiled. So that's why if we want to keep the food safe, then we have to ensure that there is no growth of the microorganism. In short, we can say no microorganism, no spoilage of the food. Okay. And what else we have learned? We have learnt in this topic there are different methods of food preservation. What are the different methods of the food preservation? Drying, cooling, boiling and placing all the food in the airtight can. These are the different method of food preservation. What else we learnt in this topic? We learnt about the preservative. What are the preservative? Preservative are any kind of the substances which are added to the foodstuff to preserve them for longer time. So what are the example of the food preservative? We had already learnt in this topic. Sugar, salt, hing, mustard, oil, vinegar. These are the different example of the food preservative. Understood, student here? And students, always remember, when buying food in a sealed bag or boxes, make sure you check the expiry date printed on it. If you buy any kind of the food stuff and the expiry date is already gone, okay, then don't purchase that any kind of the sealed food. Check the expiry date before purchasing anything, before using any kind of the thing. Understood now? So students, we have completed the lesson number 13, the methods of preserving the food. So we will see you in the next session. Bye, take care.